Good morning and welcome to all my stitching friends. I am so happy to be here with you today. I am Dr. Janelle Meredith and this is Vintage Threads and Samplers. I have some Pan de Muerto, Day of the Dead bread, and some sweet Mexican hot chocolate to snack on with you. I wish we could do this together, but we're virtual. So I would invite you to grab some hot coffee, hot chocolate, and some sweet bread, and let's get started. I have a lot to share with you. First of all, I would like to thank all my subscribers. Thank you for hitting the subscribe button. Thank you for the thumbs up, and thank you for your kind comments that you leave after my videos. It means a lot to me, and I do appreciate you taking the time. So, the past few months, I've been focused on my Mi Familia series. I told you I wanted to honor my Mexican heritage and wanted to design samplers. I was on this journey of researching antique Mexican samplers and then just thinking about how I could design some samplers that have meaning, honoring my mother and my two grandmothers. So this has been a labor of love, and I am so happy that two of my aunts, my Aunt Lola on my dad's side and my Aunt Lydia on my mom's side, who documented stories about their growing up, about where they worked, where they came from, some of their hardships, their joy, their successes. And so that's been a privilege for me to be able to read all of that and say, how do I take some of that and how do I do my designs? So again, it's been a labor of love. And as I've been working on these samplers, a lot of the antique Mexican samplers I've looked at typically have some signature on there. The signature of the girl who stitched it, maybe her age, her date of birth, the year. I don't typically see where, mainly about her. So, for example, some of them say este dechado, meaning this sampler. Dechado is Spanish for sampler. This sampler, and then her name, and then the year she stitched it. Or lo hizo, or hizo. Lo hizo means I made, and then hizo, made. And then it's supposed to reference the stitcher, and again, the year. So I was like thinking, I really want to do that. I want to figure out how to add my signature to my mom's and to my grandmother's. And so, you know, I checked out Spanish translation, and the word that came up was cosido. And then you put the year in your name. And I was like, oh, that looks pretty cool. I think I'll do that. So I got busy graphing it out and getting ready to stitch it. I took my mom's sampler apart. I was going to add it to the bottom. And I just had that thought, that check, that maybe I should just dig a little deeper. And I have a stitching friend in Mexico, Yanni, and she does beautiful videos in English and Spanish. Hi, Yanni. And I reached out to her by email, and she was so sweet. She got back to me like within hours, right away, to answer my question. And so her instruction was not to use cosido. You use bordado. And then you write the year in your name. Bordado en el año de 2023 by Janelle Gonzalez Meredith. And so I was just so thankful that she helped me, that she was quick, and then, you know, because I'm impatient about things. So I had taken my mom's apart, I added that, and then I did some ornamentation. We're going to insert a picture here just to show you how I changed my mom's a little bit. And really it's adding beads to the roses and beads to that middle border. I kind of wanted to do some more, and I thought, okay, don't go crazy. It's okay. You added your name. So I put that back together. And I just want to say, for Yanni, a Mexican stitcher out of Mexico, if you haven't watched her videos, please go see those. They're beautiful. She has beautiful work. And she's now had her 4th international stitching retreat. Man, I would love to go there someday. Maybe. It's on my bucket list. Okay, so let's get started with my new designs. So the first one I did after doing my mom's was my Grandma Josepa, my paternal grandmother. And we're going to insert a picture here of a close-up, and then right behind me, straight back, is that sampler. So the name of it is Pepa's Floral Dechado. I just love it. I love it, love it, love it. I started out completely different. I knew I wanted flowers, and I had a garden gate, and it was all crazy. It was huge. And then I was like, okay, take a moment here. And just kind of really had to gauge what I wanted and what I wanted to symbolize. So this is her right here, and I told you she was a seamstress. This is an antique sewing machine that I have. And of course, roses representing her floral garden. I love the way it turned out. So, I stitched this, I guess I could hold it up, or maybe just see right here. I stitched on 36 count Fox and Rabbit Eureka. That's such a pretty color. I had bought this big piece of that linen from Kitten Stitcher years ago. It was kind of sitting there between two charts. I'm thinking I must have bought it to stitch for these two separate charts that maybe I was going to hang together. I don't know. It just was sitting there. I hadn't used it yet. So I pulled that. It's very pretty. It's very soft. I love that linen. And then I used DMC, Weeks Dye Works, and Mill Hill beads. I have shared on Instagram that I had this big plastic storage box full of Mill Hill beads, just sitting there with the floss. And recently, while kind of doing some more decluttering, I was like, okay, I should take these out, look at them. I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, like for a pink, I have like 4 little containers of pink. I'm like, why did I buy all this? Doesn't matter. I have it. I love it. I shared it on my Instagram. I've laid it all out, and now it's right here. So when I'm doing my samplers, if I want to do ornamentation, I can just kind of grab some beads and lay them on here and see what matches and just kind of make it more special. I like it because it looks sparkly. It's so pretty. So that's what I stitched it on. And then in this sampler, I wanted to honor her life. Her nickname, she was called Peppa, and by her friends and family. And as a woman of faith, she was beloved by many because of her generosity. She gave to those in need. And I think I told you before, she and my grandfather had this huge acreage with everything, the vegetables, the fruit orchard, the animals, the floral garden in front of the house. And she gave from their fruits of labor. So they gave away vegetables. People would come by and just to visit, and they'd be leaving with all these watermelons and cucumbers and cilantro and strawberries and apples. And so I just love that was what they taught us, right? To be givers. So she was a seamstress. I talked about her sewing quilts, clothing, aprons. And then one of the stories that my Aunt Lola shared with us, she said she did needlework. And that my Aunt Lola, she wasn't into that. Like, no, I'm not doing all that. But her mother did, and her aunt, one of my other aunts also did needlework. My Aunt Jenny. So anyway, and then one of my cousins told me about visiting and seeing my grandmother and her sisters and maybe some other relatives sitting around, stitching, laughing, maybe some gossiping, I don't know. And just that scene just makes me smile because I think, oh, I love that. Because that's what I would love to do, just sit in around a table with stitchers and we just laugh and have joy. And I think that's what the retreats offer, and I've never been to a retreat. Maybe that's on my bucket list too to go to someday. But anyway, I love that story. So on this sampler, I also used a passage from the Bible, Proverbs 30:10, and it says, "A wife of noble character who can find? She is worth far more than rubies." And then further in that passage, her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. So I decided just to graph and stitch that first part of the verse, of that paragraph, in Spanish. Now, I also included it in English in the PDF. So my grandmother was born Josefa Martinez in San Luis Potosi, Mexico, and came to the United States as a child with her parents and siblings. And they settled in Hartman, Colorado. And she met my grandfather at a dance. I have to laugh about that because my mom met my dad at a dance, and I'll share about my Grandma Jane meeting her husband at a dance. Something about that dancing. So they settled in Grenada, Colorado, had their children, raised everyone there, and she was very devoted to my grandfather and to to her family, right? To everybody. And I think for me as a child, getting to spend those summers with her, I just felt very loved and special, like I was the only person in the world. That's what grandmas do for you, right? As well as mothers. I'm just saying, grandmas do that too. So that is my Grandma Josefa, Pepa's Floral de Chato. I think you can take this, personalize it to honor someone in your life. You have the scripture in English and in Spanish. So I love doing it. I love stitching it. It's a lot of fun. It's done. It's on the wall, and I love it. So while I was completing that, and just kind of now getting ready to do my Grandma Jane's sampler, my daughter was doing some decorating, and she had ordered this sign, like a paper art sign that said "Je ne sais quoi." Came in the mail. She wasn't happy. I don't know if it was the size or just the look of it. So I said, "I can cross stitch that for you." And she said, "Oh, okay." So she picked out the linen and the color of floss that she wanted. And we're going to insert a picture here of a close-up. And then I have this PDF. So she loved it. It was fun. I found the frame at a local craft store. And the linen I used was 32 count white chill, 32 count white chocolate. And then the color of blue black is Evertote's Leo and Roxy Cousin It. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It's probably French and I'm not saying it right. Anyway, and then again, I was able to frame it and get it done quickly so she could enjoy it in her home. And so it was fun. So I'm kind of just, like I said, working on the next design. And I'm flipping through one of my decorating magazines. I pick up a lot. I love this one. It's French Cottage, Victoria Classics French Cottage. So I'm flipping through and look what I found. Je ne sais quoi in red. And it's talking about an French-inspired decorated home. I was like, oh my goodness, I got to do a sign for me. So I did. Insert a picture here. And then this is the PDF. So I did mine. I did it a little bit larger font. I added the capital letters at the beginning of each word. And found this antique frame. Fit perfectly. I love it. Same fabric. White 30, did I say 30 or 30? 32 count white chocolate. And then I use Evertote Leo and Roxy Falu Red. So it's right. Let me see if I can scoot back. And there it is right there on that table. So pretty. I love it. That was kind of a fun thing to do. My daughter said, "Mom, you should get that ready in smaller letters and cursive. People would love it." No, I'm done. I'm done with that saying. It's okay. And maybe in the future I will and just offer it as a freebie because she thinks it would be a hit. Of course, if it's a hit, I got to make some money from it, right? Anyway, so the next one I worked on was my Grandma Jane. Now, again, revisions. The way I started it was I was going to do like all these beautiful borders, her name and date of birth, and do it in just red because right, we're always stitching something red. And by the time I finished all these other designs, I kind of thought, no, wait a minute, how do I really want this to look? And then reading through some of the stories by my Aunt Lydia, I decided to do it totally different. And I'm going to insert a picture here. I don't know why I just point it like that. Of it up close. And then this is the PDF. Isn't that precious? That's my grandma right there. So this is Jane's Mexican Fiesta de Chato. I just love it. I love how it turned out. So let me tell you about it. Let's see. It's stitched on white 30 count sandstone, and I used DMC, Weeks Dye Works, Gentle Art Threads, and Evertote Leo and Roxy. Now I will tell you, in my Max Stitch program, Leo and Roxy threads aren't there. So there's a conversion in this chart for the borders that I used Evertote's threads, Leo and Roxy. So when I was designing this, again, I read back through some stories, and I really wanted to capture the excitement we had in our family. We always had like lots of fun events going on. There was the annual reunions, there was the big, just throw together a big picnic at the park, and everyone would come, and you just bring food, and whatever was there we had. We had at the time what was known as the world's largest swimming pool, so people go swimming and then come back over and eat and visit. I mean, it was just always a lot of fun. I'm sure there was some football going on. The Christmas with all of our relatives and some of the other Hispanic families in the area. There's just always all these fun events we were having. So the annual Mexican fiesta, that was a big deal. You prepared months for that. There was the parade. You had to learn how to do the dances. There was a parade through Main Street. And then at the Finney County Fairgrounds, they set up booths. They set up a stage for the dancing and the Mexican orchestra. There was a crowning of the Queen. There was a Spanish Mass. And of course, there was a dance. So I just thought, well, how do I capture some of that? So again, you'll see the horses representing the parade. These little floral motifs, kind of just the beauty of putting the parade, putting the event together, and then these little dancers. So this little dancer, the female, I think I redid her 4 or 5 times because I wanted to get it right. And then I was like, the colors have to be right. So that came out perfect. And then the little male dancers, I just thought they were precious. Now, in one of the revisions, I just had the girls, right? Just the females right there, girls. Then I decided to add the men. The women, I should say women, men, girls, boys. So anyway, this is how it ended up looking. I think it's precious, and I'm glad that's how I settled on it finally. So now in our family with this fiesta, there was an expectation that we would dance. Y'all got to sign up, and you're going to go over to so-and-so's house in the evening, and you're going to learn how to do these dances. I have no rhythm. I can't sing. I can't dance. So somehow I got out of it. I don't know how. But my siblings had to, and it was fun to go to the events and then see them up on stage in their costumes dancing. But I'm thankful my mother didn't make me do it. And yet I think, well, how hard would it have been to learn the Mexican hand dance? Could I have learned that? Anyway, all good stuff. So my grandmother was born in Coachella, Mexico. She came to the United States as a baby with her parents, and they settled in Garden City. Now, from some of the stories, it sounded like they lived a few other places, Chanute, Kansas, maybe Hutchinson, but really they settled in Garden City. She was very involved in the Hispanic community, was vice president of the Blue Cross organization chapter there. It was very similar to the Red Cross. However, their focus was on the healthcare needs of the Hispanic community. And I just think that's just so amazing, and maybe a running thread of why my mom became a nurse's aide. And she really wanted to become a nurse and just didn't go back to school. And she wanted one of her daughters to be a nurse. And so I'm a nurse, and her granddaughter, one of my daughters, is a nurse. So it's kind of cool. She met her husband, Luis Mendoza. I think I already told you they met at a dance. He died early on in their marriage, and she became a widow. My mom was 12 years old when her father died. And my grandmother was determined not to go on public assistance. She worked multiple jobs. And, sacrificed and gave everything for her children, for my aunts and uncles and my mom. They owned a home there in Garden City. And some point earlier on, before she got married and had children, as a young adult, she was invited to participate in a study by the University of Kansas, KU. I'm going to hold up the brochure. So this is her right here. I wish this was in color. I love the hat, the jewelry. I'm sure that dress is just decorated to the hilt. These look like bands of ribbons, so pretty. Anyway, she was recorded, this professor from KU. Now, I don't know if he was already a professor or if he was working on his doctorate. But he came to Garden City to study, do a qualitative study on the lives of the Mexicans who had immigrated from Mexico, their social strata. He wanted to understand why they chose Kansas, southwest Kansas, why they chose there to settle and raise their families, and what they did, their lives. So my daughter went to the KU library and was able to find the study. There's like a list of the tapes from recording our family members and other families, other Mexican families, and maybe some transcripts. So we've reached out to say, are these really available? Can we listen? That would be like really crazy, right? Awesome to listen and hear my grandmother talking. So we're checking. We're going to see if we can do that. And then the other thing about my grandma is she and her family, her parents, grandparents, were highlighted in an exhibition in the Finney County Historical Museum. They did a whole big wall of photographs of our family members and, again, their journey from Mexico and information about their lives. So that is so cool, and I'm so glad I have all of these documents showcasing that. I just feel like, you know, they were like rock stars. They were amazing, and I'm just over here tooting along, trying to enjoy life, and I got to get with it. Now I've had some accomplishments, I admit, but you look back and you think about your family and everything they've done. Think about my grandparents who had nothing, saved money, bought the acreage, built the house, built the barn, built the garage, did all that, set up the gardens and the fruit orchard. I mean, and you know, and we come along as their grandchildren like, oh, this is just normal life. It's just here. Not thinking that we need to recognize the sacrifice and hard work. And also for my grandma, Jane, who was a widow and yet was successful in life and raised my mom and my aunts and uncles to be so successful in life. Okay, not going to cry. All right, that is all about those samplers. I have 3 more designs charted, no more revisions. They are done. I'm working on number 3. Very excited about it. I'm going to post a picture in my Instagram of that's the start of that one. I'm just at the very beginning. And it's not real big. And then I have a second one done and a third one done. And I'm working 3, 4, 5. And then I'm working on the one that honors my grandparents' Colorado homestead. And that's going to be really fun. I don't think it'll be as big as this antique back here, but I have a feeling it's going to be big, so I'm going to have to figure out how I can stitch on 40 count maybe. And I've never stitched on 52 count. I'm not going to challenge myself to do that. But anyway, I'm excited to work on those. So I'd like to move now to talking about a virtual lecture I attended last Saturday through the EGA. Now, I subscribe to the EGA, Embroiderers Guild of America, for about a year. And I get things in my email all the time. And so, you know, sometimes you just glance like, oh, they're highlighting a sale that somebody's doing in Arkansas or some big event in California. So it's kind of like news around the states and what everybody's doing. So I just click and then I see what it's about and I delete and kind of move on. Well, Kevin had recently had knee replacement surgery. So trips to the doctor, trips to physical therapy, and he can't drive, of course. So I take him, and I'm sitting in the car waiting and looking through my email. So I pull up the EGA's email, and for some reason that day, I just decided to take a deeper dive and just kind of click through more information. And this event came up, Este de Charo, Samplers from Mexico, by Dr. Lynn Anderson and Dr. Mayela Flores. And you could register. I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta get home. I gotta register right away. What if I can't get in? And it's full, right? Get all nervous. So I come home, I get online, I register, and then it's a Zoom, obviously, and they're gonna send you the link. And so that was last Saturday, and I was so excited to attend. It was almost 2 hours. the information they shared was quite exhaustive and amazing. They did not record it. They're not sharing the PowerPoint slides. I wish they would have recorded it because I think there was just a wealth of information that I would love to go back and listen to again. However, I'm over here taking 20 million notes. And some of the important things, I mean, they went back to the 16th century about cross stitch in Mexico and Europe and why the girls documented Este de Chado. They talked about classes of the people. They talked about in Mexico, girls were instructed in cross stitch just like they were reading, writing, right? That was just a normal course. And I remember listening to one of Yanni's Floss tubes, and she talked about learning cross stitch from an early age, and that's why she's fast. She's such an expert. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what a difference that would make in your life if that was a requirement and if you learned at such a young age. And then they both owned some antique samplers, and they used those to share the stories. They talked about the types of stitches in these Mexican samplers, how they would dye the threads, vegetable dyes. I'm like, oh my gosh. Of course, we're over here doing coffee staining, tea staining, right? And I mean, it was just, I'm just looking through my notes here because I was like trying to take 20 million notes and hurrying and later trying to figure out what I even wrote. So very fun and instructional lecture from these two doctors. Now, they're not stitchers necessarily. Their passion is education, research, teaching, and that's what they brought to us that day. I know a lot of people on the call were like, well, what are you stitching? And then they showed, oh, I had it here on top. Where did it go? This, they talked about, someone brought up in the lecture this sampler, the Spanish sampler, a reproduction from the collection of the EGA. And so we're all in the chat going crazy, like, oh, where can we get that? Oh, I want that. And it's no longer available. They're not selling it. You can't just go find it. I found this on the internet and just printed the picture to have it as a reference. I love all those. I mean, it just looks, I'm sure it's very colorful and just beautiful. Now, there were 23 of us on the call. And one person said, oh, I own that. And we're all like secretly wanting to chat with her and say, could you share it with me? And I was like, I'll buy it from you. But anyway, if anyone has it, wants to reach out to me, please do. So after that, and they talked about how if you want to grace your wall with antique Mexican samplers, then buy reproductions and stitch them. And so I had to laugh because I have that. I have this little box full of them that I've been collecting over the years, always thinking, well, when I get done with this one or when I get done with that one, I will go and start doing my reproduction Mexican samplers. And I haven't. But now I'm more inspired to do so. So I'll just go through what I have. I also want to tell you that some of my research, I've been doing this for a long time. This is an article, Patterns from the Past, Mexican Samplers of the 19th Century, and this is by Dr. Busen, 2003. So I've been on this journey a long time. I don't know why it's taken me so long to stitch anything. Oh well. And then this I found from the Victoria and Albert Museum. They have Mexican sampler history, and they go through, they actually do a great stitch guide, which I thought was very cool. So this is a very nice article, and I think they had some freebies for doing the Aztec stitch, if I remember. So that's great content to have. And then I told you that in one of my previous videos that when I was doing some research, I found out about Rebecca Devaney, and she had this article where she actually did I think it was her master's program, qualitative study, going to Mexico, going through all the little villages over a couple weeks' time and learning about the stitching and how the women shared it, how they didn't even have charts like we do to help us learn how to do this. So, very great article. So, I've shared these two before in my previous video. A Mexican band sampler. It's a reproduction by Needlework Press. And I stitched this a couple of Christmases ago for one of the girls. Now I was in a hurry, right? I'm always in a hurry. I wanted to get this to the frame shop before Christmas. I could give it to her. So I didn't have time to do this part here. Instead, I carried this all the way across. It's beautiful. She loves it, but I'm glad I still have it. I hope I still have it. Because I want to stitch it now again and just do it correctly. So that'll be fun. And then I've shared about this one before, Spanish Rose Sampler by Liz Matthews. And that one turned out really pretty, and my other daughter has that one. On Maybe at Sea, I found this one, Spanish Sampler. And it has this crest right here, which looks very cool. It's very beautiful. And we have the Mendoza family crest. So I thought, well, maybe I can figure out how to use this and add this in the middle. Eeks! There we go. And use our own family crest. Or maybe I just take it and here's the front of that little brochure, the Mendoza family. And figure out how I want to maybe do something on a design. Oh boy, here we go again, another design. I have this booklet from Kitten Stitcher, Spanish Mystery Sampler by Shakespeare's Peddler. She has a really funny story about how she came to doing this reproduction. So it's really cute. I love it. I haven't done it. Maria's de Charo, Maria Ana Martinez, a Mexican sampler. And then she actually has a picture here of what the antique looks like. So that's kind of cool. See, the colors are very muted. I'm not sure. I'll have to look inside and see if she did brighter colors for more vibrancy in the sampler or not. Love it. I love this one. Of course, I haven't stitched it. Just holding on to it. Luz Gonzalez, 1851. This is a Spanish colonial reproduction sampler. And she also included pictures of what some of the details in that sampler. Those stitches. Oh, I can't wait. That just looks gorgeous. I have this one, Mexican Garden, circa 1860, by Queenstown Sampler Designs. That's just so pretty. And I like that it's a garden, because I think I could do that and just as a reflection of my grandparents, not necessarily change it or do anything to it, but it's just beautiful. I have this one, Lola Rodon, 1847, a Mexican sampler. You can see that. It looks really pretty. I like that it's long and not horizontal. So that would be kind of fun to do a wall with both. And then I have this one, Patronia Arandes, 1834. So let's see if I'm holding that up correctly. There we go. Isn't that pretty? Oh, it's just so pretty, all those little motifs. And then on the back, she has a picture of the original. So again, this is by reproduction by Needlework Press. And it looks like I got this from the Attic Needlework. Must have been one time when we were visiting in Phoenix. And then the last one I want to share with you about is Maria Soron. So I saw this maybe at the Attic, I don't know where, and I bought this band sampler. I just thought it was beautiful. Maria Soron, 1830 floral band sampler. So I've had it here, of course, with everything else. And I was watching an older Floss tube with Jean. And Jean actually holds up the antique, the original sampler. And it's like this big. I mean, she needs help holding it up. And it's absolutely gorgeous. I'm like, oh my gosh. So apparently there's 5 parts to this reproduction. And I only had 1 part. So I hurried and got on the phone and called them. And they had all of the rest of the charts I needed. And they were so sweet. They held on to them for me for a year, because that's when we were in the process of selling our house and moving and living in Boulder and then finally settling in this house. So they sent them to me finally, and I'm going to show them to you. So part of this, they've even got listed as parts. No, yeah. Interesting. So this is called part 1, her horn book. Isn't that pretty? This is another part, the mini sampler. There's her sewing box. It's pretty. Her band sampler. And then, like I said, I have this part, the floral band sampler. So I don't have the diagram of how these all sit in the original, and I might reach out to Jean and ask her if there's a way to, or maybe I just go back to that floss tube and watch it, see if I can capture how they all sat together. Anyway, it's absolutely gorgeous. It's big. It'd be a very big project to stitch. And I'm a slow stitcher. I've said that. I just go along, but I want it to look perfect. And I stitch every evening. I love doing it. I joke that I'm going to live to be 100, and I guess I better, since I got to get all these samplers done. And I need more wall space. I'm going to say that. So anyway, thank you for joining me today. This has been a lot of fun. I hope you have a great rest of your day. It's a beautiful fall day here in Colorado. We came through Boulder the other day, and the colors are just gorgeous. It's beautiful. I love fall. So happy stitching, and I'll see you. I'm not going to say when. I'll see you when I get some more work done and can share with you. Alrighty, bye-bye.